This is how I'm timing the market in 2024. Okay, y'all, one of the most common questions that I get is it a right time to buy? People always want to know if it's the right time to buy, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I figure out if it's the right time to buy to make sure that I am timing the market perfectly so that I can get the absolute best investment property every single time. And I also just want you to know that everything that I said is absolute BS. Stop trying to time the market, okay? And yes, the title of this episode is absolute clickbait, but I just had to put it out there because guess what? It is always the right time to buy. Because here's the thing, most of the time you're taking a bit of a gamble. But think about this, any decision that you make, you're taking a little bit of a gamble, not just in real estate. For example, that degree that you got in college, that's a bit of a gamble. You don't even know if a career around that is actually going to exist in 5, 10 years, right? Or that company that you decided to sign on with, that job that you just got, you don't know if you're going to get laid off in a month or 2 months or a year from now. Or you don't know if the company's just going to completely go down. But that didn't stop you from still applying and actually taking the job. And it's the same thing if you put your money like into the stock market. You just have no clue. The stock market could crash tomorrow. It could crash next week. Yet we can collectively agree that in general, it's a good idea to put your money in the stock market and start investing. It's the exact same thing with real estate. Stop trying to time the market. You're literally trying to win a losing battle. People only really know if a market is super good in hindsight. For example, in 2019, people were like, damn, these houses are so expensive right now. I don't know if it's a good time to buy, blah, 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 blah. And I think we can all collectively agree that everyone who purchased in 2019 got a freaking steal. And we're all jealous about how cheap the properties were at that time and how low the interest rates were. So it's all relative. When people say that houses are expensive right now, that's just relative to what we're used to. In 10 years, we're going to look back at these prices and be like, damn, those houses were so cheap back in 2024. Just the way that we look back at houses in 2014 or 2008 and we're like, damn, that was such a good market. Think about this too. How much more expensive are groceries now than they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or honestly, than they were like 3 years ago? I feel like almost double what I used to. Before, I used to be able to do my groceries in like less than $50 a week. Now we're approaching $100, which is crazy, right? But the thing is we're going to look back in 10 years and be like, oh, I remember the days where I would only spend $100 on groceries. So that's why now is always the right time to buy. Because here's the thing, I can assure you, you are not, I repeat, you are not smart enough to time the market. And neither am I, and neither is your dad, and neither are a lot of these online publications. It's all speculation. It's really just this false sense of comfort where we think that we are able to time the market, but we really can't, okay? We can all take a stab at it and try to make educated guesses, but we really have no control over the market. Remember how everyone said that interest rates were going to drop in 2024? Yeah, so now we're in March, almost April 2024, and that still hasn't happened. Interest rates actually went up. Now, we're still hoping that they're going to go down later this year, but no one can predict when that's going to happen. And if you base all of your purchasing on when you think something's going to happen, you could be waiting for an extremely long time. Now, remember when everyone said that we were going to have a bunch of foreclosures in 2022 and 2023, and so they were waiting until these foreclosures happened? Shockingly, they did not happen. Crazy how that works, right? So all of those people who were waiting for this thing to happen, it never happened. Literally, everyone was saying how it's going to be just like 2008. But remember, that's all speculation. It's always just speculation. No one has a crystal ball. It all depends on supply and demand. The best time to buy a property is now. The best time to get into real estate investing is now. The best time to get into social media is now. The best time to start a business is now. The ones who succeed are just the ones who don't try to time it and they just freaking start, okay? Let's say you do get one property that isn't performing exactly the way that you would want to. you're not going to die. I promise you, you will not die. And if anything, you're going to learn all of these skills to then go out and get your next property that's going to freaking crush it. Okay. Now, I will say too, if you're going into this thinking long term, not thinking of it as this quick fix, you're probably going to put yourself in a way better position. Expect to actually own the property for a while. Expect to build that business for a while. Expect to do social media or whatever it is that you want to do for a while. The same way that when you sign on to a job, you're like, oh, I'm probably going to do this for a couple of years, So that's that same mentality that you have to have around real estate investing, right? Like, oh, I'm probably going to own this property for a few years, not like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and sell it tomorrow for a profit without having actually done anything to the property. Every once in a while, you do get that opportunity, but don't go into it with that mindset because you really don't have control over the market. What you do have control over, however, is making sure that your numbers work right now. You aren't going to know every single thing, and that's okay. You aren't supposed to know every single thing. And anyone who tells you that you do is lying, or that they do is lying. There are always going to be unique circumstances and problems that pop up. That's why no one has the same story. That being said, and I know I said don't time the market, there are some common seasonal trends that we do see. For example, there's usually more inventory, meaning that there are a lot more houses during the summer. Why is that? Is a lot of people move during the summer, right? Like kids are out of school. People are thinking about getting a new house for the new school season or whatever that looks like. So summer tends to be a much higher inventory period for people selling their homes. That means that more homes are on the market. However, remember supply and demand. So even though there are more homes on the market, that also means that prices are going to be higher in the summer usually than they are in the winter. And that also means you're probably going to have a little bit more competition on the summer because more people are also looking to buy properties. So that's one thing you do have to take into consideration. In the winter, you usually have less inventory because you've got the holidays happening. It's Christmas, it's New Year's, all of this stuff. So you just don't see as many properties on the market. But that also means so many less people are actually looking for properties. So it's actually, in my opinion, a really good time to look for properties during those off-season markets because you can get a really good deal. So you might be able to ask for like seller credits or get a property slightly lower under value or be able to knock a few $1,000s off of the price. That is way more common for that to happen in the slower months than it is the faster months. I personally love getting those properties off seasons because I just get the best deals during those times. And I know that I'm not going to have like 50 people bidding for the same house. If you're in NOLA, for example, you know that January to March is Mardi Gras mode, basically, and no one is selling their houses. So sometimes during those times, it can be almost too little supply that you really have, a hard time finding a property. But I will say, if you do find something during that time, you can probably get a really, really, really good deal on it. So while we aren't trying to time the market as in if now is the right time to buy versus a year or 2 or 3 years from now, because we really don't have that insight to be able to determine that, we can kind of a little bit strategically plan out throughout the year when we're going to start looking for properties. But at the end of the day, you don't have control over when a property is going to actually hit the market. So if you find something that works, just freaking go for it. Stop trying to time the market. It's a losing battle and you're probably missing out on so many freaking good deals. So I hope this just helped you take some of the pressure off and know that now is just as good of a time as any to time the market. Okay, I hope this was useful for you. I love you. If you liked this episode, make sure to actually leave me a review, like 5 stars. If you're on Apple Podcast or on Spotify, make sure to leave me a review. I appreciate it. And I just love seeing what you guys actually think about the podcast. Thanks, fam. Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you. And don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.